Welcome, everyone. My name is Nahrin. I'm a developer educator here at Vonage, and I am so excited to be joining you for yet another episode of the Dev Lounge. If you're new to the stream, the Dev Lounge is a bi-weekly developer variety show featuring innovative demos like we'll be having today, interviews with inspirational folks in tech, live hacks, and loads more. On today's episode, we have with us a very special guest. His name is Sudipto Ghosh. Thanks so much for joining us today, Sudipto.
Hi.
Hi. So you're an undergraduate student from the University of Delhi, majoring in computer science and mathematics. And you also recently joined our Developer Champions program, so you're now officially a Vonage Voyager as well. I've got some folks in chat joining us. Hello, hello. So I'm curious to know, how did you first come across the Vonage APIs?
Yes, so that's quite a bit of a story. So we had a Hacktoberfest Discord server that was that was an event organized by DigitalOcean and in partnership with Vonage as well. Mm-hmm. So there was a person called Luke over there, and he was helping us out with all the things that are related to getting started with open source and contributing to open source. And even Ben and you were also there. So many of your folks came over and just helped us out with all of the queries that we had regarding contributing to open source in generally. And then we got to know that Vonage is a service that offers these communication APIs. And I thought that it was cool that because just trying out these new things from our programmatic as a programmer, when we do this stuff, we usually don't see stuff happening, but I saw the SMS API and even the voice API, and it was cool to just know that I can do this stuff also with my existing programming knowledge. So that was one of my first introductions to Vonage, and then I then quickly went over through the documentation and I found out that these are the other APIs that you guys also offer. And so that was my introduction to Vonage.
That's amazing. I'm so glad we were able to make a good impression on you over Discord. Yeah. So that's awesome. For those of you that may not know about Hacktoberfest, may not be familiar with it, it is a month-long open source celebration that happens annually during October, where folks get the opportunity to make contributions through pull requests, learn a great deal from the community, like Sudipto just mentioned, and get a prize or two at the end of it. So it's a really, really cool way to get involved with open source, and I'm already looking forward to it. That's awesome, Sudipto. So since then, you've been actively involved in the Vonage community, as you mentioned, and you joined the Voyagers program. So that's a really, really interesting program that we actually just had recently launched by the time you'd heard of it. For those of you that haven't heard of the program, it's a fantastic way to get access to pre-release products, learning and training opportunities, limited edition swag, and you join a group of seriously talented and inspirational folks like the one next to me. So I highly encourage you to check out the program if you haven't already. I'll post a link to it in chat. So Victor, I'm curious, what has been your experience with the program so far? And is there anything you're...
I've been absolutely blown away by this thing because we have something called office hours as part of the Voyages program, and then we also had product feedback sessions. And in my first office hours itself, we also had a game at the end of it. So that was really a great orientation and induction to the entire program also. And it's been great because whenever we suggested something to one of the product designers, they actually scheduled a session with us, and then we talked over things that we can do a certain thing certain way. And that was really a great experience because whatever we suggested, and that was really reflected even on the developer education portal that we have. A few things we also suggested that can be improved, and that was reflected also. So that was pretty great because here all our opinions have a real world significance, and it's really empowering. And also many folks that are over here on our Voyages program, they are so inspirational. Even we had Hector on this Vonage dev stream itself, and I went through his stream, and absolutely mind blown by this program.
Absolutely. Well, couldn't have said it better myself. There's just so many amazing parts of this program. And I love that you're able to actually, put in your feedback, put in your input on all the technologies that you're using and actually see that come into fruition, right? Because we actually value your opinion so much, and it's a great way to actually make an impact on the products that you use. I'm seeing some more folks joining us in chat. Hello, Daniela. Got Luke joining us.
Yes, Luke.
Ashutosh joining us. Amazing. So excited to have you all here with us today. So I know you enjoy learning and experimenting with new technologies. That's one of the first things I think that we talked about, that you're constantly learning. And I think it really helps the fact that you're in a university atmosphere where you're learning things in school, and then you're able to actually learn things from the community and kind of mesh those two together and build really, really cool projects and demos like the one that we'll be seeing today. What's something that you've learned recently that you really enjoyed, or what's something that you're excited to dive into?
Yes, so I would start off by the technology that I worked on recently. So I saw Luke as an experimenting with Vue and server-side rendering with Nux.js, and along with it Tailwind CSS. So I thought it would be really cool to go with that for my software engineering project at school. So I used that, and also along with that I made it a cluster and orchestrated it through Kubernetes. And that was an entire system. We had to do an entire system design. And then we have another Flask API that does the image processing. And also we experimented with how caching works. Like we experimented with memcached and redis. So that was really a cool I had heard about all of these technologies, but then we had really to apply it. And then just icing on the cake, we used the Vonage verify API to in the authentication module of our system. So that because all of these options are out there and so many new technologies are evolving so quickly. Even I was going through the state of JS 2020 survey, and I really saw that Vue was also on the top, and even Luke recommended it time and again. So that is one technology stack that I have been into recently. And going into the future, I would be more inclined to go with more of the machine learning frameworks like TensorFlow and PyTorch, because I have educational and academic aspirations. And then I would also like to. It is very interesting, the WebRTC protocol, because I was really experimenting with the video APIs. There are many competitors out there who make a video chat in your application possible, and I was just experimenting with this, and that is what I would like to get into the future. I even worked with some Rails applications, and and I am recently trying to just do two things. That is the video streaming thing, and this machine learning and deep learning stuff.
That is incredible. It sounds like you're getting involved in everything and anything that you possibly can, and giving it all a try. That project you described for school sounds so cool, and I hope you'll actually come back to our stream here and talk to us about it and walk us through it, because I would be so interested in learning more about that. That's amazing. And see some folks in chat would also really love to know more about that too. So you've been getting involved with so many things, like you just described. You're heavily involved in learning new technologies and the engineering aspect of things. You've been doing a lot of public speaking through your streams, right, which you started recently. And then technical writing, because you're a technical writer for our learning platform, learn.vonage.com, and you've done a couple of posts on there. So is there something that you enjoy doing the most? Like, is there a role that you kind of see yourself, diving into after graduating, considering you've been doing so much experimenting now?
Yes, regarding after graduation, I am actually preparing for GRE at the moment, and I would like to do a master's in computer science. So once I graduate, and side by side, I have been working with a startup also, and so I would like to be in the industry and as well as the in the academia for some time, because I am just in the school right now, so I am experimenting with everything, and after graduation, I am looking at a master's, and then backend development and system design is attracting me a little more. So let us see where that goes.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thanks so much for sharing, and good luck with that. I have no doubt that you'll be brilliant at it. Pursuing academia is always a good option, I think. Learning more is always great, something we preach here. So yeah, so today we'll be taking us through a demo and then showing us how to build an air quality reporting service that will send information over WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger about the current air quality at any given location. And once you suggested this article, I thought it was a really, really cool idea. And I'm actually so interested in knowing what inspired you to come up with this.
Yes, so regarding that article idea, we were actually working on another project that had to do with air pollution at the moment. Where I live here, I live in India.
Mm-hmm.
So we were having a bit of an air pollution issue, and then on this Twitch stream itself, we were building something. I don't really recall the name of the stream, but we were building something right here, and then I just popped up an idea that it would be cool to have such a service. And why this service specifically? Because where I live right now, I will be going into the details of what air quality index and all is, but it was really bad, and people who had past issues and respiratory problems were facing issues while they were going out. This is pre-COVID and pre-pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
so that was a problem that we were facing beforehand. So it was I thought it was really creative and innovative, because if we can connect that real time information about the weather and our surroundings, and then we can build an alert system out of that. And that, because we use WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger a lot, so we can receive notifications on those platforms. So that was a rough idea when I came up with that article, and I just suggested it to your team, and then we went ahead with it.
Yeah, it turned out amazing. Like, I'm so excited for everyone watching to actually, see how it comes together and see how it works, because it's incredible. It's got such a great, like, real life use to it. It's really, really valuable in many, many places. And Danielle's actually sharing the link to the article in chat. So if you want to take a look as a preview to the written tutorial, go ahead and click on that. But yeah, I'm so excited to dive into that. Before we do that, however, I know you are excited to demo the REST interface, the Messages API with Ngrok and Postman. So how about we dive into that now, and then we'll get into the tutorial in a bit. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will let you take that away. There we go.
Okay, so what I have in front of me is right. It is the Messages API reference. So what the Messages API is actually, it is a Vonage offering that enables us to send messages through various different communication channels. Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp are only a few of them that I will be covering today. But this is a beta API, so it is currently in development. But it is really cool if we can we can just demo it right away with some other tools and applications. So what I am going ahead first is the Postman environment. So Postman is actually an HTTP client, and it also is a API testing tool. It has a range of different tools that we can use to document our APIs, and as in totally debug and inspect our what our HTTP request will be in the future. And even Julia covered it in the stream itself. And we have a concept called Postman Collections. We have mock servers, because if we have a backend that is currently in development, we can mock that service also. So it is a really nifty tool for making HTTP requests to your API, and just see that what your API is currently replying back as a response. So you can be sure that your front end talks well with your back end, and that sort of thing. That is one of the tools that we will be using today. And then we have Ngrok. So what Ngrok will do is it is actually a tunnel. So if you have something running on your local host, let's say port 80, then and you want to just show it to the public and have a public endpoint really fast, and it is really useful in those cases when you have a NAT or a firewall.
Mhm.
Because with our internet service providers, what happens is we get a private IP address and not a public IP address. So it is really tough for us to show to the world or to our client that what we are working on currently. And even in workplaces we have firewalls, the external access is not allowed. So for that we can use Ngrok. What it does is it creates a endpoint that is public, and then just routes all the traffic from that endpoint to a local service that is running on your device itself on the local host. So we will be using these two tools to talk to the messages API. So let's see that how do we actually talk to the messages API then. We can see in the API reference itself that we have three operations. First is we can send a message, we can get the message status, and then we can also receive an inbound message. So let us go over step by step. So then we have to send a message first of all according to this list. So we can send a message. So it says that we have to send this request to an endpoint which is mentioned over here. That is https colon slash slash api.nexmo.com, and this is the endpoint. And then for authentication we have to supply something as an authorization. As you can see, as everyone can see, that we can either do a bearer token thing with a jot, and how do we create a jot, that I will be demonstrating also. And then how do we actually authenticate with the messages API, because we have to first authenticate before we can send a message even. Otherwise we can do an basic authentication, and in that, what we have to do is we have to create a string that contains our API secret and API key, and we have to join it with a colon, and then use a base 64 encoding to, and just then just supply it as a part of our header. And in the request body, we have to have all of these properties. We have a to object, and we have to give a type and number, and the numbers have a special format if you go through the API reference. That is, if we have an international phone number, then we have to actually strip off the leading plus or any international access codes. So in this format we have to use the numbers with this API. We also have a from object and a messages object, and all of this we will be using all of this knowledge we will be using when we will use Postman to actually send us a message. So for this I have a Android a virtual device set up with me right now, and I have WhatsApp open on this device with the Vonage sandbox. And why Vonage sandbox, let us go over that also in quick succession. So what messages API and the Vonage portal allows us is to we can use a sandbox environment for testing out our applications. So for the WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and Viber channels, we have sandbox environments as well. So first we have to whitelist ourselves. So for that we have to send a special message to a number. If I can zoom in a bit, we have to send this passphrase to this phone number. That is, this is the Vonage sandbox for WhatsApp number. So for once we do that, we whitelist ourselves, and then we actually get the API key from this page and API secret from the Vonage dashboard itself, and then we have the credentials that we need to go ahead. So when we go to the Postman actually comes as an Electron application that we can run on the desktop, and as well as it can be used on the cloud also. So in the cloud, I have opened up Postman, and what I have here right now, I have a collection which is analogous to projects, and then we can have certain folders and all. So I have some folders that are set up for the stream today. So what we have right here is a post request that we will be sending to this endpoint. So you might notice right away that this endpoint is different from that is given in the API reference. In the API reference, we have api.nexmo.com, but the host name is quite different in Postman. This is because we are not using the production environment, we are using the sandbox. So this is a testing environment that is also mentioned on the this messages API sandbox page itself. It is mentioned when you scroll down the page. That endpoint is mentioned. So, and then let us take a look at the request body. So we have something like this going on. We have a to object, and that has two properties, type and number. And same for from, and the message, it has a content, and the type is text, and the text itself is hello from Vonage. So I have all of that set up right here, and then you would notice that there are a few things in curly braces, and these are the environment variables I am using. So if you see that the, the Postman IDE itself, it is a API IDE or testing client, you might say. So we can have different environment variables. Like if you want to work with this in a team, and then you don't want to share the secrets and all, you can just add the environment variables and leave out the values, and whoever is working on that can add it in. So it is really nifty. So I have a request body that is a JSON object, and then what else do I have? I have an authorization header. So for the authorization header, we will be using the basic authorization. And as we saw in the API reference, we have to use the key as authorization, and this will be we will be using this to authenticate with the messages API. So here I have a Vonage underscore API underscore base 64 variable. Again, that is just API key colon API secret, and then we just base 64 encoded using any online tool. So once we have that set up, as you can see, we don't have any additional headers apart from the authorization, and that is it. We are ready to go. So if I click on send right now, you will see in a moment then that I get a 202, that is an accepted response. So something has worked correctly, and we get a message UUID, the unique message ID, back in our response. So let us see in our device, have you received it? Yes. If you can see on this device, I cannot, I apologize that I cannot zoom that in, but we have a hello from Vonage that is showing up on this Android virtual device on my account. It is working. Something worked correctly. So that is how we send a WhatsApp message, and it is really straightforward if we just read the API reference and then we just replicate on our choice. We can also do this using curl or any other HTTP client or Insomnia, if you may. And that is what it takes to actually send a message. We can also send a we can also send a message on Facebook Messenger using the same strategy. So let me move over to that request that I have set up. So the endpoint is the same. What is actually different is the type in the to and from objects. And then you can see that we have something called page IDs and messenger IDs instead of the phone numbers, because when we are working with the Facebook services, we don't have the actual phone numbers. We have to use the page ID and messenger ID. And the rest of the things are same. The body is same, and even the authorization header is the same. So if I click on send, it will again make an HTTP post request, and again I get an accepted. And let me see on my device if I received it. Yes, I received a hello from Vonage on Facebook Messenger as well. So things are working correctly as far as now. So that is one part of the story, that is one side of the story, that we have successfully sent a message using an API client or HTTP client, if you may. And then we have the other two operations, that we can have the message status, that whether the message is delivered, whether it has been read, or something has failed. By default, the Vonage APIs actually try to send it again and again after certain intervals. And even after that, if the message fails to deliver after 24 hours, it stops sending. And we can demonstrate that as well. And then we will go over how can we receive an inbound message and get a reference to it. So for that, we need something going on for that. So we need something that can actually respond to requests on our behalf. The exact term that I am looking for is a webhook. We need to have a webhook interface that will send back a response to whoever is calling, whoever is making a request to that webhook endpoint. It is basically an API endpoint that is exposed to the public. So we can scroll over. We can see that webhooks, the message status is basically about webhooks to inform about the events that are currently happening to the message at a communication level, whether it has been delivered or rejected and all that. So let us demonstrate that. How do we do that? We will first have to use ngrok. So what ngrok really does is, it apart from making an public endpoint, it also provides us with a web UI. And in the web UI, we can see that what requests are coming in and what is the response we are sending back. And even we can replay those HTTP requests as we go. So if we take a look at the help for Ngrok, so it exposes the local network services, and these are some examples. So what we want to really do here, we want to expose a port that is on our local host and to the public, and then get a reference to it. So I will just copy this part over here. So I will do ngrok http because we want to create a http tunnel. And for the port, let's say let's use 3070. It is not specific. You can use any other port, whichever your port your application will be running on. So as you can see, we get a few things. We get a few pieces of information over here. We have a web interface that is 127.0.0.1 and running on port 4040. And we get two endpoints. First one is an HTTP endpoint. The second one is an HTTPS endpoint. We will be using this, and we will be setting these values in the dashboard of our Vonage application of Sandbox. And then we will be getting the status and receiving messages on this endpoint. So let us quickly take a look at the web interface. So as you can see, we have the Ngrok web interface, and we have no request to display yet. That is completely fine, because now we are going to actually receive a request from the Vonage Messages API on our one of our endpoints that are given on this page. So let me go over to the Messages API sandbox, and what we will be doing here is we have to override these two webhooks. As you can see, the first is the inbound webhook, that we will forward inbound messages to this URL, and the status webhook that allows us to receive the status updates. I will override both of them with the endpoint that we got right now from Ngrok. So once we do that, I can save those webhooks, and once that is saved, so access denied. I guess I have to refresh my sandbox. It has been sitting for quite too long. Yes. So I am just refreshing this page again.
While we are doing that, Sudipto,
Yes.
This is so thorough and so well explained. And it sounds like you've got a really, really good handle of this Messages API sandbox. When you were first, playing with this and exploring this, were there any gotchas or did you experience any issues that you think like a first timer would have that you could share with the rest of us?
Well, I had one issue at one point of time that I was not really sending the access credentials in the correct format.
Okay.
But then I received a handy error code, and that helped me through it. It was really mentioned in the documentation that if you run into this issue, then you can try this thing. So I have reloaded Messages API sandbox again, and I think we had some problem with Cloudflare, but that is resolved. So I can just then do that thing once again. I will be just pasting these endpoints and then just saving it. So it is now saved. Now what I will be doing is we have our Ngrok inspector working, and then I will be sending another WhatsApp message, and let's see what it does. So I sent a WhatsApp message, and let's see what it is sending us. So it is first sending us that I received a post request on this endpoint that we have been working with Ngrok on this, and then it is saying that the WhatsApp message request was submitted, and then it was delivered, and then when we go forward in time, it is again submitted, delivered, submitted, delivered. Why is it happening again and again? Because we don't actually have an application that is telling Vonage that yes, I received this status update. We have to work on that. But before we do all of that, let's just read this message that we just received. So I received hello from Varnish, then again two requests were fired off. Now that message is read. So Ngrok actually allows us, we don't yet have an application that is working with this webhook, but still it allows us to see and inspect what are the requests that are coming in. So once we have that out of the way, then we can create an application that actually does something. Because as you can see, Vonage APIs are trying hard so that our application actually receives the message. So let me just go ahead and create a quick application that will accept all of these requests that are coming in. So I am in this stream demo folder. So what I will quickly do is I will initiate a JavaScript project, and I will create a package.json file. So I use the yarn package manager, and I run this command yarn init, and then I have a package.json file. So if I see what is there in the package.json file, I can see that it is really bare bones, and it is just a JSON file with some keys in it. So what we need here is we need an HTTP server. So a go-to framework is Express. So we will add Express and Course and Morgan for logging. So while we are adding Express, the Express will handle all of our. It is an HTTP server, so web framework. So this will do our job. Course is if we want to have another front end that is talking to our backend, then we need Course. Otherwise, if the thing is hosted on another domain, then due to the cross origin request, it might get blocked. And Morgan is for logging, so that we can see on our console that what are the requests that are coming in. So I will fire up my IDE Visual Studio Code right here, and let me zoom in. So we have this package.json file with these dependencies as of now. So we see that our main file will be index.js. So let us create a file index.js, and then let us just create a small Express application. So for that, I need Express. So once we have an Express, we can create an Express application, and then we will use our middlewares. First of all is we will be using Morgan for the logging purposes. I will be using the tiny format. Why we are using that, I will be covering in a second. And what it does is, what Morgan does is that while when we are receiving an incoming request on our application, it shows us on the command line that I received that request. And then I will be also using the course middleware with this, and then we will just define two routes that we will be accepting these requests on. So app dot, let us use the post, app dot post slash webhook slash status, and then we have to have a request handler for this. That will be request, and I am making it an arrow function, and we will just log it to the console whatever is coming in the request body. And then we can just fire this up, app.listen on port 3070. And when this app has started, we can just print it to the console that the application, the server has started. So that is that is the bare bones boilerplate that is needed for an Express application. So let's hope this works. So I will be starting a node here. That now the server has actually started. So let us see that whether it is actually working or not. The server has started, and that is running on port 3070. And if we remember, we had in our Ngrok setting, we had routed it to port 3070 itself at the localhost 3070, and that is working on our Express application. So then just send another WhatsApp message. So when we send another WhatsApp message this time, as you can see, what went wrong. So yeah, I am not really sending a response back. I need to send a response back, but we have actually started logging undefined to the console. That just means that the request body is undefined, but we have to send a status. We have to send, let's say we send okay, and that should do it. And we forgot another thing. We have to use we have to actually parse the Express application, the request that is coming in. So we that is a JSON object, so we need that in our way. That is a quick thing. And then we can just again start up this application and then send another message, and we should be seeing some okays that are being sent. Yes, we are now seeing that 200 okay is coming from our application. So that thing is working. We have sent successfully a WhatsApp message, and we have received it on our phone. Hello from Vonage has been received on our phone. And then we also have these status updates that this message is delivered and all on the Ngrok dashboard itself. So that is for the status. But how do we actually get the reference to a inbound message? For that, I will have to again go back to the API reference, and then we click on the inbound message hyperlink. And as you can see, we have to have a similar webhook endpoint, and then the Vonage server will actually will make an HTTP post request to our application. So if we use that format, let us see what we have defined in our sandbox. We are using the slash webhook slash inbound as the webhook endpoint. So let us go back to our application, and then let's copy it again, and then let us paste it below that, and I will change this to inbound, and let's see what we get this time. For inbound, I would have to send a message from my phone or WhatsApp to the Vonage sandbox. So once we do that, then our that the Vonage API will actually make a post request to our web application, and Ngrok will tunnel it through to our port 3070. So let me kill that process and start it again. So our Node.js Express application has started again, and we will be sending okay whenever we receive an inbound message. So let us try sending another message. So this time I will send hi from my device, and as you can see that we have actually received the message, and we are printing that it is coming from 91 India. I live in India. This is a temporary number, and then we have received a message from this number to the Vonage sandbox number, and the text that we have received is hi. This is also visible on the Ngrok dashboard itself, that we have successfully received this request and our application has sent an OK response. So that is how we actually that is from the both sides of the story, that how we receive and how we receive an inbound message, how do we send a message using the messages API, and how can we keep a track of the message status. So that was my quick demo of the Messages API using Ngrok and Postman. And you can also refer to the previous streams by Julia and Lorna. They have also been extensively using Postman and Ngrok for all of their demos, and that was also an inspiration that I got to know about these tools. So that is it, Nahrin, for the demo of this API. And then now we can move on over to our uh, topic of the show.
That's incredible. Thanks so much, Thippo. That was super, super detailed. And I love that you explained your choices behind everything that you used for this demo. So I think we don't have any questions so far in chat. It was just so detailed and well explained. So if anyone does have any questions, please do pop them in chat and we'll be sure to address them. But that was wonderful. And I love that you brought up that Yulia and Lorna have been streaming about this too recently. Yulia is actually going to be talking at the Postman conference about this very topic, I believe. So that's really exciting. And if you haven't registered for that, go ahead and do so. It's coming up soon. Perfect. So I see you have the tutorial pulled up. That is amazing. So we are going to get started on this. We have bit more time on this stream, so I think we have enough time to get started for sure. So it's building an air quality reporting service with the Messages API. So the fact that you gave us a demo on the Messages API is going to come in handy with this, because a lot of what we've been talking about so far is going to be directly applied in this tutorial, which is really, really great. And then if you just scroll down a little bit, y'all will see that this post is actually a part of our Developer Spotlight program. So for those of you that aren't familiar with that, we do give the general developer community an opportunity to write for a developer blog as a part of this Spotlight program. And we do pay for each post that ends up on our platform. And I've actually just posted a link to it in chat if you're interested. So please do explore that and let us know if you have any great ideas using the Vonage APIs that you'd like to write about. Speaking of great ideas, I think now is a great time to get started on this one. So what do we need to do first for this? So that we need a Vonage API account, is that right? What's our next step?
Yes, we need a Vonage API account, and using the Vonage API dashboard, as I have been working with, this is the dashboard, Vonage dashboard. If you can scroll, if you can open up the menu, then you have your account on this page, and you can get your API key and API secret from there. And along with the Vonage API account, you need those two bits of information. So after that, we can get started with the thing that we will be building. So right off from the introduction itself, we will be building a service that will be powered using Node.js and the Messages API, and that will send the information about the current air quality over the WhatsApp and Messenger channels. So I will be also opening up the companion repository, the GitHub repository. That is Sudipto G81 slash Vonage dash AQI. If you want to follow along, or if you want to just see the code that what we end up with at the end of this tutorial. I have a link to it in the blog itself, and you can also post that in the chat if the people are interested, if our viewers are interested in following along.
I just beat you to it. So now the link to the
Yeah,
GitHub repositories in chat
yeah.
as well. Before we do go on, I want to draw attention to the fact that we do have a coupon code just at the bottom of this screen. So at the previous step, when you're signing up for the Vonage API account, if you want to top up your account, please go ahead and use this code. It's valid for the next month, and that'll top up your account with some more euros.
Yes, so I also used a couple of those coupons to top off my account as well. So it is really handy when you are developing and testing out your applications, so that you don't run out of your account balance. So once you have your Vonage API account, you want to set up your development environment. Just like we did, we needed an Ngrok tunnel to our application, same that we will be talking over right now. So we will have to open an Ngrok tunnel to our application and expose it to the internet. So after we run the Ngrok, let me zoom in a bit. So we will. Just ran Ngrok HTTP 3070 on my terminal as well, if you had noticed that. So what it really did was open up a tunnel that is public facing and forwarding all the requests to port 3070 on localhost. So once that is working, we need to get reference to the https endpoint that it actually outputs in the console screen, and then we will have to keep that handy, this https url, because that we will be using in the messages api sandbox dashboard later on. So after that, we have to create a application that is an express application with the all the dependencies that we will be using in our project. So for this project I went with express, that is for our web framework. Axios, because we will be making requests from our server. So Axios is an HTTP client, and it is. Let me pull up the npm page for Axios. So if I go to this page, so Axios is an HTTP client that works intelligently whether we are in the browser or in a server-side environment, that is Node.js. So we will use Axios to make those HTTP requests to the messages API. .env, because we will be using the .env for our environment variables, .env configuration files. Ddent and commander, these are two additional dependencies that I've used for this project. Ddent, I have used it for formatting, and commander for just adding interactivity to our application, and I will be going on over that when we go to that part, that when we will be needing those two. And then, because we will be making changes to our source code from time to time, and then actually it becomes tiresome to kill off a process that is running and start it again and again, so we can use nodemon to automate that. So what nodemon will do is, whenever there's an update to one of the source code files, it will just bring up that server again. From it will kill off that old process and start spawn a new one. So let me go to the source code that is there for this project, and then we can easily talk about it.
Sounds great. And while you're doing that, Michael's joined
Yes.
in chat, and he says that he really enjoyed the previous demo on the Messages API sandbox. That's awesome. Thanks so much for joining, Michael. Michael's another one
Thanks,
of the
Michael.
Vonage Voyagers. Great to have you.
Yes. So next up in my tutorial, I have written that we need this package.json file, and that I have opened up in VS Code right here. So what we have right here is that my main entry point for this application will be this JavaScript file, and I'm using the MIT license for this project. And we have a couple of scripts right here. We have a node dot and a node mon dot for our dev and start scripts. And what it will actually do is run it in development mode, and whenever we make a change, it will use nodemon to spin up a new process. And for the formatting issues, I have used ESLint and Prettier, so that all the formatting issues are taken care of when we commit it to GitHub. And then for the dependencies, we have all the dependencies that I talked about. And then let's go ahead with the tutorial and follow along what is there. So we have to copy the contents of another file .env.example to something called .env, and these will be our environment variables that we will be using with the .env package that there is. So if I see the .env.example, we have to have these few things: that we have to have the Vonage API key, the Vonage API secret. The Vonage number will be the phone number that is used for the Vonage sandbox I am using for right now, and the Vonage page ID will be the Facebook page ID that is coming in from when we use it to send or receive Facebook Messenger message from the uh, Vonage's API. And then we have a port variable that defines on which port our application will run on. So now I will not actually show you the actual .env file because it has some credentials, but this is the boilerplate that we will need. As you can see from the top of this file itself, we need another token, that is the Aqicn token, and I want to talk more about that. So what is the Aqicn token? So the Aqicn token is actually a credential to access the API that we are using for getting access to the air quality information. It is a part of the World Air Quality Project that is currently running, and we have these programmatic APIs for getting access to information related to air quality. So if we scroll down this page, we can see that there is a JSON API that we can get access to the weather station level data and the city level data for the pollutants and all. So all of the environmental protection agencies or monitoring agencies that are there in each in our countries and in our cities, they actually govern these weather stations. And then there is a citizen monitoring program, and that is actually different from our topic of discussion right here. But we for us, there is a JSON API that we can use to get access to weather data. So how can we use that? We have to have a API key. So to get that API key, we have to get a token from this data platform token page, and we have to basically give in our email address and our name, and why do we want to use this API for. We have to fill up a form, and then we will get the token in our email. So why we are using the World Air Quality Project in the first place? As you can see, that what are the various data points that we can use. We have various pollutant data. As you can see, we can also have access. We can also have access to the pressure, humidity, temperature, and all. So all of the data is currently available to us, and there are various different weather stations popping up around my place. All of these are at least 40 to 50 kilometers apart, so that is actually great. So for this API AQICN token, this is the token that we need from the World Air Quality Index project.
What data
So let us go.
using
Yes.
this project?
Yes, I was not able to get that due to some connection issues.
No worries. Sorry, the question was, what data points are you using in this project? You've got quite a lot.
Yes, in this project, I am using all of the pollutant level data, that is the PM 2.5, PM 10, the ozone levels, the nitrogen dioxide level, the sulfur dioxide level, the carbon monoxide levels, and then actually tabulating it with some other data points that are available that I will be talking about in a bit. And then we will use it to construct a notification message that we will be sending off to the customers or users of this service.
Fantastic.
Yes, yes. So once we have that .env file ready, then we can use that ngrok endpoint that we had during the first part of this tutorial, and then paste it in the messages API sandbox dashboard, and say we can paste it here, and we can define our own endpoint that we wish to receive our messages on. I could have totally done slash inbound. So that is to get it out there. And then don't forget to click this save webhooks button. Even I saw Lorna actually in one of our streams actually mentions that we should not forget about save webhooks, because it is really easy to overlook that part. Once we save that URL endpoint on the dashboard, then we can go ahead with the next part. And then we go to another file that is the main entry point of this application. So let me open up that file. So what do we have going here? Here I am importing some of the libraries. I am starting the .env pack. I am importing the .env module, and then I am instantiating it so that we have access to all of the environment variables in the .env file. And then I am importing all of our libraries that I need for this project: the redent, the commander, and express. And if we go down here, I am instantiating an Express application, and then uh, we have this expression. What it really does is, if we have something really overridden in this port environment variable, then that will take precedence over this hard-coded 3070 value. And if we just ignore these lines for now and just go down a bit, here I have used the express.json middleware again. And we recently used this while I was demonstrating the messages API. So that line is again back. And then we have this messages API inbound webhook. And this is an asynchronous function. Why we are doing that is because in this application, what will happen is, once a user will text us their location, then we will have to actually make a request to that World Air Quality Project and to get that data. And that will be done asynchronously. It will take some time. So that is why we need to use the async await syntax, or otherwise use promises to get this working. So here I am saying that I am printing out the ID of the unique ID of the message that I have received. Then I am passing it over to commander, and what it is doing something at this point in time. Otherwise, if there is an error, I am sending another message using this send message function. All of this is a black box at this point of time, unless I go in depth after a few seconds into it. Otherwise, I am sending a message to the user that the supported commands are something else, and you are actually sending me something else. So just for the interactivity. And then again, I have the status webhook. It is again printing the status of the message that is received on that webhook endpoint, and sending the status as 200 OK. And then we are starting the application to listen on this port. So let us just fire up this application and let us see that what it does. So let me be sure that I have uh, closed that application. No, it is still running. So let me close that out. And then we have this application in front of us. Let me npm run dev. So it is the nodemon is now running our application, and our application is currently running on port 5000, because I might have uh, set up something else. So let me change up this real quick, because we already have a ngrok process that is running for port 3070. So let me just edit that out. If I can save it again, now you can see nodemon just restarted my application, and now the application is running on port listening on port 3070. So now let me send us a message, and send ourselves a message through this application, and let us see what do we get. So I am sending hi again, and this time I should get something else back. Yes. So on my phone right here, I have received that the supported commands are something else, and I have sent something else. So how did this happen? As you can probably guess, that we went into this try catch block, and then we sent this message right here. So if I go to the definition of this uh, function right here, so what I am doing here is I am using Axios to post a new message to what this endpoint, that is the same endpoint that we used in Postman, and then we are sending a entire object in the body of that request. And what it is sending is, we have a from object, and the type will be the same type where this message is coming from. Like this type can take on different values like messenger or WhatsApp or SMS even, because the messenger messages API is actually working for all of the mentioned channels. So I am replying back on the same channel that the message is coming from. So next up is if the type is messenger, if I am receiving it from messenger, then I will be saying that the type, the ID is the Vonage's page ID, because now I am my application, so I am sending these messages from the Vonage sandbox itself. So I will be sending an ID, that is from the from object will contain the Vonage page ID. Otherwise, if it is something else like WhatsApp, then we will be sending a number that will be the Vonage number. And same for the to object, we will be sending on the same channel, and the number or ID will be the same as we are currently receiving, and the text will be the message that we are sending to the we are passing as an argument to this function. So right here I am sending this message as an argument as the message, and the request body, that I am getting a reference from this request dot body in this try catch block itself. So then now how are we actually going to get the status, that is because I just read this message on my phone, so this message is delivered and even read. So we can quickly see that in the Ngrok dashboard. So we have an inbound message. So we texted hi from our phone, from WhatsApp to our application, and we can see that on Ngrok itself. So that is working, that part is working. And then let us go back to our tutorial. As you can see here, what I have said is we have to have a webhook inbound, and we can just log the request body and send 200 HTTP response. So this is the bare bones that I also showed at the beginning of the demonstration. This is the base where we build up from. So then if we send a message, we get these if I receive a message from the client, that is from the WhatsApp or messenger, we have this request body itself that we also had come across when we were demonstrating this messages API. So we have the messages UID, and the from type is WhatsApp, and there is some number, and we also have the timestamp when this message was sent.
Mhm.
So this part of the tutorial post talks about how do we get access to the different properties within that request object that we received on the webhook. And then how do we send a message using the messages API that I also covered right now, that we have to post using Axios. We have to use the post method in there to send a post request to this endpoint, and this will be the object that we will be sending. And then we can authenticate using the Vonage API key and API secret. Now here I have used something, this is the because we are doing basic authentication, we can get away with this. That is, we are using the username and password as the API key and API secret. But if we come down around here, if I go to the send message definition, what I am doing right here is I am taking this Vonage API key, concatenating with a colon, and along with a secret and converting it to a base 64 encoded string, just like we have in the API reference, just to clear that out. And then we go back to our tutorial again. The send message is a helper function. You can also check it out on the repository, the exact definition of that function, and it will take the body of the message and send to our defined WhatsApp number or messenger ID. And then we can use the send message function for sending us any message, and then the request body we can pass it to that helper function. Now, after this point in this tutorial, we have to actually fetch the data from the air quality index, the air quality project APIs. So for that, we already went ahead and showed the viewers how we can get an API token. And after that, we will be receiving a verification link on our email address, and then we have to set that aqicn token variable in our .env file, and then that will be set up. And then let us really go through the world air quality API documentation, what it actually provides us with. So this is the documentation page for that API. So we have access to real-time air quality data feeds. So if we go down on this sidebar, we can search for a specific location or a data from a specific weather monitoring station. How we can do that? We can send a GET request to the slash search endpoint, and we have to have some query parameters. The first is the keyword, the name of the station we are looking for, that is our current location, and a token that will be the air quality index project token that we get. So let us go back to Postman, and then let us look at how can we do that. So here is that endpoint api.waqi.info/search, and then we have two query parameters. That first one of it is token, the Aqicn token. That is again I have made it an environment variable in Postman, and then we have a keyword. Let's say London, or even it can be Delhi. So if I do this, let us see what else do we have going on. We have no authorization header. We don't have any other header. We don't even have a body. We just have some query parameters, and this is a GET request. So if I send this uh, as an request, so we receive a lot of information back. So let me zoom out one level so we can see this better. So we have this a pretty big JavaScript object on the right hand side. So the status is okay, that it found some of the search results that we want for, and it is it gives us a list, an array of different weather stations that are there in the area. So for brevity, let us change it back to London. Let's see what locations do we have here. We have one station called London, and these are the coordinates of that weather station, and this is the URL. So I need this part of the information for the for actually getting the data. As you can see, we actually have some of the data available, that the AQI is 59 at this point of time at London, but the URI is what I need from this response. And then if I go back to the API documentation, if I have a URL for the if I know that what I want, then I can actually get a really detailed response back, that it will contain a data that will have all of the real-time air quality information, the measurement time, and the individual these were the parameters that I was talking about, that we get different pollution we get a different value for each pollution indicator, and then we also get some forecasts and all. So that is really handy, and that we will be using in this project. So let us go back to Postman, and then let us get a station data. So if I scroll down, there is another London observatory that is called United dash kingdom slash London slash dash Bloomsbury. So let me copy that and I will paste it here. What it is doing is, this is the slash feed endpoint, and if we look at the documentation, we have this colon city. This colon city is actually a path parameter. So here also I have used colon station. So we have a path variable, and the value for that path variable is what I actually got as a response from this slash search request. So if I do this request now, we get the entire data, the detailed data for that weather station. So as you can see, that UK air quality information resource, it is showing that that is the agency that this station is affiliated to, and we get the entire data, that carbon monoxide. There are a certain units associated with these values, and that is also mentioned in the documentation. But we have humidity, H for humidity, that is also mentioned in the documentation itself. As you can see, as if we would see, uh, PM 2.5 is the PM 2.5 forecast, and all of that, it is mentioned in this project documentation itself. But as the name suggests, NO2 means for the nitrous dioxide levels, the ozone levels, and all of this data is quite readily available to us. And now we can get a reference to all of this information, and from our application we can make a request and get this data, and then we can construct up a message, and we can then send it over to on WhatsApp to the customer or the client who is actually asking for the air quality information at that location. So as I also mentioned in the blog post itself, that this will be the structure of that response that we will be getting from the WAQI API. So, and then I have defined a utility function. So let me go back to my code. So if I go back to my code and scroll up, so I have a get stations and get station and get station data. These are two helper functions that I am using. So for how I am getting the stations, the list of stations, I have to actually get the best match that there is uh, to what the user wants. So if I write London, it should give me the weather station that is closest to London. So here what I am doing is I am creating a station data variable, and that it is making a get request to this API endpoint, and we are sending to query parameters that this is the token, that is the dot example I showed, that we have a reference to the AQICN token. We are sending that token and the keyword that is coming in as an argument to this function. And if we don't have any data, that is if that list of stations is actually empty, we can say that there are no stations found for that query, and then that we can actually tell the user to rectify their query. So that is for the get station function. And for the get station data, we use the slash search endpoint here, and we are using the slash feed endpoint here. Now this station URL we will be getting from that station data itself, as we saw in the last bit. And this URL will be the unique code. Like, let me go back to Postman, that this is the URL property that there is to a weather station under this project. So we are getting a reference to that, and we will be sending the same token. And if there is an error, we can tell the user that there is no data available at this point in time or something like that. And with that, we have these two helper functions ready to help us out when we need to get a station for a particular query. And if we want the data for a detailed data for that, we can also have that. So here I have also used the same example. I have listed the example response that we will be getting for, let's say, London. And these are the get station data. These This is also helper function that we just went over with.
Right. Question,
Yeah.
Sudipto.
So at this point of time, that it would be really a good time to handle a few of the questions. Yes.
Yeah, we actually have one from OpSecMate who asks, do people actually use NodeMon? So obviously we use
Yes.
NodeMon. I still use it. You use it. I know Luke was in chat earlier saying that he calls it NodeDemon, and I know he uses it. So is there anything else you like to use instead of NodeMon?
I have actually used a NodeMon for this, and I have not really come across or explored any other options at this point in time. So I actually saw one of the tutorials on YouTube first back in 2016
Mm-hmm.
using NodeMon, and from there on, I have been using NodeMon, and it has become quite a default in all of my JavaScript projects. That out of habit, I always add it as a development dependency so that whenever I make a change to one of the source files, it just restarts the process again.
Yeah, same for me. I think
Yeah.
back in 2016 or 2017, I was taking Colt Steele's Udemy courses. He's got some great Udemy courses on web development, and he used NodeMon for one of his tutorials. So basically, since then, because that's what I was using to first learn how to code, I just continued using it as well. OpSecMate says that they use Vue UI, which will be cool to explore. Have you tried that yet?
I have used the Vue CLI, and I think it also uses some other library under the hood. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever we make change to one of the Vue source files, it also has a feature, live reload feature. So I guess they are referring to that feature.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be cool to check out. I will really check out after I get done with my other projects. I will be really interested in checking out what that is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because you're using Vue more and more now.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. And we do have a few follows. Thanks so much for following. And no other
That is really cool.
yeah, absolutely. No other questions just yet. So I think we're good to continue on with the tutorial. But for those watching, please do pop them in chat and we'll address them as they come in.
Yes.
All right, carry on.
Okay. So so at this point in time, just for our viewers to understand quite a bit better where we are in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in time, we learned how to actually send a message. We learned how to receive a message and how to get the data for a particular weather station. And now we have to figure out what to do with it. We have a lot of data, and how what to do with it right now. Then that we are covering it. So we have to reply back with some relevant information so that this message, this all this data is made readable for the end user. So I actually went through a resource. This is the Aqi Basics that I am showing on screen right now. This is a US a government resource that I found on the internet. So this is the Air Now uh, FAQ page. So it is showing us that there are some gradations and some distinctions that if the value of the AQI index is from 0 to 50,
Mm-hmm.
then it is actually the air quality is good and it poses no risk. And as the value of the index increases, it actually becomes quite a bit unhealthy to stay outside. And as you can see, from 301 and above, there could be some emergency health conditions, and everyone should be careful about if they are going out for some doing some outdoor exercises or outdoor work, and they must remember to wear an N95 mask wherever they go. So it is a chart that I came across on the internet, and we will be using this as a base for actually constructing the message, and we can use this description of the air quality to send it back to the user itself.
Yeah.
So
How bad
yeah.
has it ever gotten for you? Like when you've been building this and you've been experimenting with it, what's like the most unhealthy pollution level that you got to? Like,
Actually, when I was building this, it was really what I should say, that it was really common for me to see 999 all over the place where I am right now. The 999 is where the scale actually fails. That
Oh.
is, the actual AQI level is greater than 999.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is limiting at that point in time. But even if you see where I am right now, if I see some other neighboring cities, you can see that there is somewhere it is 683,
Yeah.
749. So it is really unhealthy out here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that the level is 301, from where the actual health conditions become unhealthy, and we are living here right now at 749. And as I spoke about, during uh, w- when the winter sets in, it is about 999 and above. So that is really concerning. So that was the actual reason that I chose this topic to go around. So
Mm-hmm.
if you here, so I have used the same information from that table. So you can see that there are different levels, and for that we have different health implications. And we can use these cautionary statements that the active children, and if someone has a respiratory disease or problem, or a history of allergy, they should avoid outdoor exertion. And after that, when it really gets unhealthy, then everyone should avoid outdoor exercises and all heavy work that is outside, and they must wear a mask. So that is, this is that table. And we can use all of these data to actually construct a helpful message that will be helpful for us in the upcoming work that is going on in this tutorial.
Absolutely.
So
Do you actually, so when someone's actually using the service, can they
yes.
say what group they fall into? For example, if I had like severe respiratory issues, is that something that I, can mark somewhere so then to start sending me like red alerts earlier on than I guess like the regular population?
Yes, so for that we would need to store need to store your phone number and your as in your level of alert in a database, in a data store somewhere. Right now I am not really using we are not really using that, because then we will have to actually take consent of the user, because we are saving some critical information about their health,
Mhm.
and there could be some privacy concerns. And we should look when we are dealing with that such health data and all, we should be looking at those issues as well that may pop up later on. So if we have those data, that information in place, we can actually run a cron job or a scheduler, so that we can do this routine from time to time, as in check for every hour. And if you are sensitive enough, then it would send you a notification on WhatsApp itself. Right now what we are doing is we actually have to say again and again, where am I? And then it would then just search for the nearest weather monitoring station, and then get the data from there. And then we will construct a message with these health implications and cautionary statements. That is so that is where we are right now.
Well, good shout on the
So,
privacy.
yeah.
That didn't occur to me a minute ago. So, yeah, great call on that because absolutely you can't be storing information like that without consent.
Yes. So that was another useful tutorial on the Vonage platform itself, is how can we format the messages for WhatsApp. If you have used WhatsApp in the past, so we have some basic formatting options, like we can italicize, we can highlight our text by using bold, we can use strike through, or for if you are sending code or something, we can use the monospace. So uh, that was this link I got from the Vonage developer portal itself. So we can use some of those methods as well to format our message before sending it off to the user, because it would then look good and draw attention to the useful details in our message. And then now we are coming to the dedent and commander JS. So dedent, what it actually in essence does is, when we use template strings in JavaScript, let me show you an example here, right? Quick. So if you see that when there is this message right here, like supported commands is something I have made a list of the supported commands and that I am sending to the user. If you look closely, there is a lot of white space before this, and this white space is actually a part of the string. So when I send it over on WhatsApp to the customer, what will happen is all of this white space will get printed on their message. So it would actually mess up the formatting of our message. So for that, what I am doing is I am using the dedent library, and it strips away all of the extra white space that there is to the before the first printable character in our string. After the new line character, it searches for the next printable character and strips away all of the white space in front of it. That is why I am using dedent. And then let us go to the next library that we are using. We are using commander.js. Now, commander.js library, this is the npm, this is the GitHub page for that library, and it was actually built for building CLIs, the command line interfaces, because we can pass on different flags and options to command line applications, and then we can develop some command line tools with the help of it. And commander.js just makes it easier to detect those flags and options, and we can take multiple command line options with commander.js. But here I am using commander.js in a different for a different use case. So what I am doing here, we will be using those flags and options from the text that is coming in from WhatsApp or Messenger. uh, Otherwise, usually what we would have done is, if we go to the documentation for commander.js, we would have used the process dot argument vector, the argument vector that is passed on to the command line interface, that the arguments after it, we would have used that. But here I am using the text of the message that the user is sending itself, and detecting all the arguments and all the options from that message itself. Basically, it is actually parsing the message and searching for keywords that might match with the commands that we have, or the options that we support for this application. So here what I have done is that we have created a new command instance from the commander library, and I have named it trigger. So when this trigger encounters an AQI command, and there could be an n number of search terms after it, and it would have an alias of A. So if I receive some text which has the word AQI in it, I know that I have to trigger this action, that is this search term, or search term that will actually fetch the and send the brief air quality information report. And if I want some detailed report, I can search for another option in my text called info, and I can send that over. the entire uh, the entire all the pollution levels and all, I can send that. Or I can optionally send only the index value. Or if we have some links to other helpful resources, we can send that also. So these are the different commands or options that we can accept in the app, in our application itself. Like when I used ngrok, we had something like, if I have ngrok help, it showed us the help for that application. So what we are doing right here is, if I would have had some let's say we would have some application called Vonage dash AQI, and if I would have to search for an AQI for some place, this would actually be analogous to what we are doing right there. But this string will be we will be using from the request that is coming in from an inbound message. So that is the difference of the use case that we are using here. As you can see, I am trimming the message content that is coming in from that inbound webhook, and then I am converting all of that to lowercase, and then I am passing it on to the trigger dot parse method, and then the commander library with the help of this trigger will figure out which one of these actions to actually trigger. So after that, we can send a status 200 request to the Vonage API server, the messages API server, because whichever is the case, if we are able to find the weather station, or if we are not able to find it, in any case we will have to actually send the status 200 to the Vonage API server. Otherwise it will keep on retrying to send the same message. So here and on the next part, I go over how can actually take a look at the status, and that we actually covered itself in the demo demonstration of the messages API, that we can have the submitted, delivered, read receipts, and all the status, the states the current message could be in. And it could also be rejected or be undeliverable. For example, if we are on airplane mode, or if I have blocked the Vonage number, then the message could be rejected or be undeliverable for any other reason also. For example, if there are any connection issues. And then I go over that using the WhatsApp and Messenger playground, the sandbox environment itself, we can play around with it a little bit more in this post. So let us see a bit more of our code, how this is happening. So here I am showing that if I receive a request for some search term for some station, then I am calling the get station method to search for a station using this search term and get a reference to that station. If I go into the definition of this, so you can see that I am calling the slash search endpoint, and I am getting that station. And if there is an error, then I am sending a message with that same error, that for example maybe the station is not existent, so it would send that message over to the customer. Otherwise, if there is no error, then we can get the detailed station report, and then we can construct a message and then send it over. So let us go to this construct message AQI method. So here what I am doing is I am saying the current AQI is the AQI that is currently we are receiving from the station. And then if the severity level is the level that we just saw here in our air now, this is the level of concern, the good, moderate, unhealthy. These are the different severity levels. So we can get that. I have defined this above, that if the AQI is in this range, then we can return this string. This is a very bare bones implementation of this. We can definitely do another hash map or an efficient implementation for checking ranges. But once that is done, we can go where was I? I think I lost track, but no. Let us go back. Construct message AQI. Yes. So then I can get the correct advice for that air quality index level, and then say that this data was last updated at this time, at this timestamp, and this is the name of the station that you are currently getting this data from. And just to tell to the user that we can have a detailed report also, we also have a detailed report. So as you can see, I am just saying that we are sending the current AQI, nothing else. But if we want a detailed report, we have another action here. This is the info command. So if the user supplies something in the string that contains the term info, that this will get executed. Then I will be calling this construct message detailed function. And what it will do is it would calculate the dominant pollutant that there is at that location. And if you are allergic to that, then you can make a informed decision that this is the pollutant that is dominant at that location. And along with that, we can get the different pollution levels. So I have selected that these pollutants we will be looking over at, and using basic the object methods I am using the higher level functions for filtering all the keys from this array that we have here, and basically constructing a string that will be in this format that is given in the post itself. That let us actually send a message and let us see for ourselves what I am talking about. So if I say info and let's say Delhi, so if I am sending this message right here, then I should receive yes, so I have received quite a lot of information. So carbon monoxide, the unit for that, as I was saying, that uh, these are the different units for each of those properties that we have here. I actually had to do a bit of research to get to know that what are the units that there are that this service is reporting in
Mhm.
from the air quality project. And then these are the key names, that CO means carbon monoxide, and the DU means dew point, H means humidity, and all. We can expand it and then send the message over to the uh, user who is sending in the message. So we have the different levels and the units of the pollution that there is, and we have the hazardous 746 AQI, current AQI. The dominant pollutant is the particulate matter, that is particulate matter 10, and the humidity is 79.9%, and it was last updated at this point in time. And the station, this is the weather station, some ITI Jahangirpuri, Delhi, India, and the source was the Delhi Pollution Control Committee. Uh, and then this is the detailed report as we saw. But if we have another different, we have another command also. This is the AQI command. So if we use that, then we, for the same station, we will have a brief report. For example, we can use the same example. So if I use this search term with Delhi with the AQI word in it, let us see if there is any error. No, we are seeing that it is, the messages are being delivered, received, and read, because we have this webhook status that is constantly logging it uh, out to the console. So it is easier for us to debug this application. So as you can see, we are just getting the AQI, only the AQI, and the air quality is extremely poor. We should close our doors and windows. So this is a useful bit of information. So that was it for that command. And then we also have some help commands, like if the user does not know how to use this service, then they can just send help, and then we will send back the user with some information on how to use this service. The same applies to the Facebook Messenger channel as well. So if I just go to because this application is running with nodemon,
Mhm.
so we can go to another application. So if I go to the Facebook Messenger and I send in another request, let's say info, let's do New Jersey this time. So if I do that, then that will be passed. And as you can see, because we did some formatting for the WhatsApp, so that is not now not working on the Messenger, because it does not support the same formatting as WhatsApp. So these were the formatting characters, they are printed as it is. So but we saw that, yeah.
This is really,
So
really
if,
well thought out to
yeah,
this. Like you've got so many options. You've got the two commands. You've got the help. Like really
yes,
well thought out and really well detailed. I love how much time and effort you put into this. Like it's really, really evident. It's usable
yes.
right now as it is.
Yes. So, as you saw that this really, this concept, this working really translated well from Facebook, and then it also worked on Messenger. And if we take a look at the overview of the Messages API itself, this application can actually be migrated over to any of these communication channels that there is. We can also use SMS or MMS or Viber even to interface this application with the customer. So that really shows how flexible Messages API is, and we can have any endpoint, we can have any sort of data coming in, we can use this as a serverless function even, and even deploy it on Netlify, for example. So that would be acting as a our webhook endpoint, and then we can trigger something else on our backend, and then there are endless possibilities with the Messages API, because we just have this REST endpoint that we can just make requests to, and all of this stuff, this good stuff will take place automatically. And then we also have a client SDK, as if you would if you can see here, we also have a server SDK. So for that, we have to use this. I guess that we are currently migrating from Nexmo to the Vonage nomenclature for the different packages, but for the time being it is Nexmo at beta. So you can also use the client SDKs to use this Messages API, but it is really flexible that we can use these HTTP endpoints directly and make REST calls, and then just get our work done with those stuff only. So that was really flexible for the Messages API to be able to do that. So with that, my blog post is actually done with that part, and you can also read more about the code on my GitHub repository, and go in and check out the actual source code. And if you have any questions, you are free to ping me, or just put out and create a issue on the GitHub repository, and I will make my best effort to answer your queries. Or if there are any bugs, or you can add some new feature to that, you can also make a pull request on my repository.
Amazing. All right. Well, that's a wrap then. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sudipto. That was so well explained, and this tutorial is like seriously cool. I'm so excited to, play with it myself and see whether or not we can add some more features and things like that. I think it's so critical, especially given the current climate. And I love all the technologies you used and all of that. So I personally don't have any other questions. I'm not seeing any other questions in chat right now. But thank you so much for joining the Dev Lounge today. I know it's super, super late for you, so we're going to end the stream here. But thank you for this. It was seriously incredible.
It was really a great time chatting with you, with another human in this time of pandemic. And then we had our interaction from our viewers as well on the Twitch live chat, and that was a cool addition as well. We had Luke on the chat, we had Michael, we also had some other folks as well. So it was really cool to be here and talk to you about my project and my future plans. So yeah, really great.
I enjoyed it. And we do put these on YouTube afterwards. So if you're watching in the future and you have any questions, do reach out to Sudipto, as he mentioned. He's got the GitHub repository in the article itself. And you can also reach him on Twitter at Scientific Coach. So to our viewers, thanks again so much for tuning in and chatting with us throughout. We hope you enjoyed the stream and are leaving feeling inspired to use the Messages API in our project soon. I know Sudipto's got more tutorials coming out soon, hopefully, so there'll be more inspiration there. And then also check out our blog at any point if you're looking to explore some more tutorials and some more innovative app ideas that you can build using the Vonage APIs. Next time on the Dev Lounge, we will be joined by Igor Wajda, who is our Android developer advocate here at Vonage, and we'll be building a 2FA server with Kotlin and Ktor, which will be super exciting as well. You won't want to miss it. Until then, bye everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Bye.